Are you tired of going round and round on the same argument? It's so frustrating, but it's also hard to know. Like, is this normal? Am I expecting too much? How do I really know when it's time to leave? I'm Brenda Florida, certified life coach. Number one, arguments go round and round and you never really get anywhere. So this is a super frustrating dynamic. Sometimes it's the topic that you're arguing about all the time and you never get anywhere with. But sometimes it's different topics, and the pattern is that when you're disagreeing with your spouse or something they do, you never get anywhere with it. Like, I could talk to my husbands about, work problems or problems with a friend or whatever's going on with the kids, and we could have conversations around those, and he could give me good feedback and, whatever, all that was great. But if I had a problem with something that he did, then the pattern of the argument always went the same. And the bottom line is, he would never admit, he ever did anything that wasn't right, that wasn't great. He was very much a my way or the highway. So left me with either I go along with him, maybe we can agree to disagree, but that was about the best we ever did. And so when you're up against somebody who can't take responsibility for what they're doing, that's the way things are going to go. Or they're too insecure to imagine that maybe they aren't the best spouse in the whole wide world and have some, flaws and fallacies of their own. Then whatever it is that motivates it for them, past abuse, past trauma, like with both of my husbands, I knew them well enough to see why they had such a hard time owning up to the things they were doing that were hurtful to me or that I just didn't like because of their past. But the problem was not that, it's that they didn't want to grow and figure that out. So how can they not bring those dynamics into our relationship? How can they learn to be open? How can they learn to be receptive when somebody has a complaint about them or whatever? Because obviously it also wasn't just me, they were the same way with other people. But that arguing round and round and not getting anywhere is a huge, huge sign. Number two, and these kind of overlap a little bit, is whether or not that person is toxic. I'm not going to pretend to have a super definite definition of toxic for you so you can check the boxes off, right? But for me, toxicity is about those communication strategies like deflecting. Deflecting is when whatever it is you've complained about, they turn it into your fault, or their way is just better than your way. So maybe you want to spend money on this and they want to spend money on that, but obviously their way, their thing they want to spend money on is more important and makes a lot more sense than your thing does. And all of that is deflecting. And if they're too aggressive, if they're verbally abusive, which includes like being insulting, being overly critical. I mean, anybody we live with, we're going to, get irritated by and whatever. But one of the ways you know whether or not you're in this toxic, side of the equation instead of just sort of normal and we're not all perfect and no relationship is perfect, because that's true too, is that your partner knows that about themselves. They can hear that. They can say, oh my gosh, you're right. You know what? I was so cranky that day, or these things happened at work that really pissed me off and I took it out on you and I'm sorry. Or that was a thing my mom used to do to me and it made me crazy. I hated it. And so that what you just did reminded me of it and I'm sorry, right? Like, these are healthy conversations where a couple can move and grow and change together. Okay. But what's very common, a very common thread in unhealthy relationships is that one partner isn't really feeling seen and heard. That you can bring your issues up and your partner might argue that they do see and hear you because they let you say all that, but nothing happens. There's not movement towards any shifts or changes or, navigating any differences. It's that If you disagree, you just have to figure out how to start agreeing with them or do it their way or whatever. So those are all telltale signs. And number 3 is going to be this idea that goes with both of those, which is it's exhausting. It's not an idea. It's a feeling in the body, right? You're exhausted. You have all this second guessing yourself and, well, maybe I just didn't communicate right. And, oh, probably if I had said that in a better way, he would have heard me or she would have heard me. Or there's all this rationalizing and making excuses for and self-blame. Well, I'm not perfect either and blah, blah, blah. Especially if you relate it all to being a people pleaser. People pleasers are way too willing to accept way too much responsibility. And what that means is we often choose partners who love that about us and they shift the responsibility of what they should be doing onto us. And so then we start feeling responsible for it. And so feeling responsible for how your spouse is feeling or feeling responsible because you made them mad, whatever. Those are telltale signs that you are in an unhealthy relationship. And part of what I love to do in my practice is help people move into healthy relationships, whether it's the one they're in, to learn how to communicate different. Like a lot of times not being seen and heard is because we're also not communicating very clearly. So I've worked with a lot of people in relationships that aren't sure if they should stay or go. And trust me, they don't all go, okay? Some of them do decide to leave their relationships, but plenty of them realize, oh, I'm not really communicating clearly when I think I am or whatever. And they go try these things and their partner responds in a really open and positive way and they start growing together. But for those of you who keep hitting the brick wall, who keep spinning and feeling that I must be crazy, like I don't even remember that the way she, whatever, said it happened. I feel like I'm losing my mind every time we're in an argument. I just feel like my head is spinning. That's not you. That's the dynamic of the relationship. And part of what I'm good at is helping people change those patterns so they can change them in their relationships. So I would love to hear in the comments below how this has resonated with you, and know that in the description, there's both a link to book a 15-minute call with me to see if you want to explore coaching with me one-on-one, and my email address, because I understand some of these things are not things you'd want to put in comments on a public thing like YouTube. So maybe you want to email me about it privately. That's fine. But the real goal is that when you're in a healthy relationship, you don't feel that second guessing, all that crazy making. Like, sure, once in a while maybe, but very rarely. You feel seen, you feel heard, you feel loved. And that's what you deserve. That's what we all deserve. And if you have a relationship in your life that doesn't feel that way to you on a regular basis, then please reach out to me and I will see you in the next video.